The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
We have Mike from Chicago on the line, and he has a question about digestion.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
First of all, I just wanted to say that I love the show. I think it's great programming, and I'm very much of a like mind when it comes to, taking control of your own health and certainly doing your own research.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico Haan and Paige Clarke.
Happy Friday and welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, wild, natural world to take back control of our personal choices, our health, and our freedoms. I'm Nico Haan.
And I'm Paige Clarke.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful day, Paige, in downtown Clearwater. It's 83 degrees. It's actually very dry. And the breeze is there, the sun is shining, like perfect weather in Florida.
So please subscribe to our Health Signals newsletter and stay connected with us.
Yeah, and also order our Primal Edge Daily Nutrition if you want to feel really good and feel that you're doing something really good for your body. This is the product that will do that for you.
And how lucky are you, Tigers and Tigresses, because you can use your Tiger dollars. So check it out at the TFNN website at tfnn.com.
And we're also taking your phone calls at 877-927-6648. So Paige, in the news for the last couple of weeks, of course, last week we were talking about the meat thing with the World Health Association. This week it hit in the newspapers, and of course a lot of chatter in the paleo community about it, a lot of chatter just about everywhere. I see links to different articles saying this is the way it is, and other things saying, no, this is not the way it is. And I really kind of dug into all those articles, and I also dug into the actual World Health Organization's method of how they did these things. And a lot of it was observational.
Right.
And if you know anything about observational, is they'll call you up about once a year and give you a form to fill out from your recollection of what you ate. And they have specific format for this, and I actually have the document. So if anybody's interested in that document, I can send you a link to the document of the kind of questions they ask. Some of it's real specific, but some of it's real general, and you have to remember you're kind of recalling how many times did you eat bacon. No real difference between what the kind of bacon it is.
Exactly.
And they're lumping things like this. I found this very interesting. I know you know this, is that red meat category is hot dogs, pizza, hamburgers at McDonald's, fast food stuff. These are all lumped into the category of red meat. So that right away made it suspicious to me, saying, okay, they're not even saying what the difference is between the meat, what the animal is eating. Of course, the big concern that you and I always have, but they made no distinction whatsoever against, whether the meat is healthy, how long it's been around, whether it's been processed or not. It doesn't really make too much difference when you're talking specifically about red meat.
And for those of you that listened last week, you and I talked a little bit about the sleight of hand when organizations use the difference between relative risk and absolute risk. And the newsletter subscribers, I think, are maybe going to see that lecture from, I think it was David Diamond. I sent you a link.
And I'm going to put that in next week.
And the reason I'm just bringing that up is that the same methodology is being used when you see the way they utilize these statistics. It's being used in this same argument, too. So once you understand that the research that many of these organizations are using to make their points is quite frankly, being used to mislead, you can then start to use your common sense. And as Nico said so correctly, these things are not taking into consideration what type of meat, where did the bacon come from, where did the hamburger come from, and other factors that are involved.
Well, some of the other factors too is, as I'm digging into this, of course, we have things that we call recipes that are handed down generations. Everybody has their grandmother's secret recipe for something, and recipes are there because they combine well with the foods. In other words, if you're eating this, this is a great complement, and maybe the drawbacks of eating one food, the other food complements it to take the drawback away from it. And our ancient ancestors really knew this.
Let me give you an example of that.
Okay.
You know, we've talked a lot about the Polynesians.
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, the Polynesians have some of the healthiest records. You know, Bruce Fife, the coconut researcher, has proven that many of them have lower risks of heart disease and all of these things, yet they eat pork on the skewer. But guess what they complement it with?
What?
Pineapple. Bromelain.
Yeah, and
Which is
also for red meat, that's good too.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a proteolytic enzyme, folks. It's, you know, again, it's just you got to get the whole story, not half the story.
So these things, and I have a customer who a few weeks ago we were talking about this type of thing. He said, don't forget too, burnt animal fat has been shown to contribute to the risk of cancers. I haven't seen that. And remember, our ancestors probably, when they discovered that cooking thing, the first thing they probably did is just accidentally maybe threw some meat on a fire and somebody tasted it. I think for thousands of years, our ancestors have been eating burnt meat.
Well, I'm going to say that I do, you know, kind of understand a little bit of that research that came from Todd. It's Dr. Joel Wallach, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And again, why is the meat, the charboiled meat, creating an increased risk in cancer, as he says, you know, because what were these cows eating? Well, many of them were eating polyunsaturated fatty acids, which rancidify on heat.
But you also have to consider the health of who's eating it. If you're already on a diet, the standard American diet, and you're eating burnt meat, well, it's going to have a dramatic effect. If you're very healthy and you complement that burnt meat with something else.
With some antioxidants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then it kind of balances out. So if you're already on a bad path of going to fast food joints and drinking your Coca-Colas and maybe drinking a lot of alcohol, those things are all detrimental to your health to begin with. And now you're adding some of these things that they say are bad for you. You can see it's not only the needle in the haystack, it might be the straw in the haystack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Well,
I'm taking over from you, from these little sayings that
the
we
little
have.
snigglets that we have.
Snigglets.
You know, while we're on that subject, though, regardless of what your position is on your, whether you know your spiritual stance on eating animal foods, we do know that there's some evidence that there's vital nutrition. It very much is likely, in my opinion, that there's too much. That many people are eating way too much food in general. I mean, that's my big issue is I think we eat too much food. I don't think our ancestors had that luxury that we have today. But while we're on that preparation of food, let's just go with the premise that many people are going to choose to eat them and maybe go over some of Mark's ideas on how to prepare it correctly.
Well, I enjoyed Mark's a lot. In fact, it's the last one I read of all the different ones. But he really wraps it up nicely. He tells you, first of all, what the carcinogenics groups are, which I think are important. But besides that, he also talks about this complementing food together. And that makes a big difference.
Pairing them so that you can get the benefit.
And also, we're not talking about overeating beef. One of the things that he mentioned in here, well, people who eat a lot of beef, steak lovers, don't exercise a lot, first of all, probably don't go outside a lot. So you accumulate these things together, and you're going to have some bad results. But if you're on a healthy lifestyle, you're moving around a little bit, you get out in the sun, you're first of all eating great to begin with, and then you have some of these things, and if I go down to McDonald's, it's certainly not going to impact me because I'm not doing it every day. What we're talking about is what you do 90% of the time. That's really the key.
But in reality, just as you said that I cringed, I mean, you would never eat at McDonald's, would you?
No.
Okay,
no.
I just want to make sure.
I have in the past, before I started this whole thing. I remember my wife and I traveling together, even, about 20 years ago, and stopping at McDonald's.
Well, of course, we all did before we became aware, but once your eyes are no longer eyes wide shut.
It was that trap. You're on the road for days, and you're almost home, and you ran out of food. And we say, it's not going to hurt us once. So we go in there, grab a cheeseburger, some fries, and say, hey, this is kind of great. We're kind of nostalgic again. We used to eat this junk, now we don't. But then the more healthy you are and the longer you're on that healthy track,
it just
the
doesn't
more
appeal
sensitive
to
the more sensitive you are. So when you start eating that stuff again, boy, there's a real price to pay, I think. You don't feel well. I mean, you're not going to get sick from it, but you can feel the real difference. There's like a brick in your stomach, and it's not moving that well.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
kind of the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I find that, I am so well fat burning adapted that I just don't need to stop. I mean, if it's not going to meet my need, I will find something else that's, I'll be staying away. But I do like some of the things that was in Mark's Daily Apple's ideas of how to mitigate potential damage to the meat, because it really, as you said, it highlights the wisdom that our ancestors knew.
Yeah.
I mean, that our ancestors knew the power of the stew. Right? Okay, so, the soups and stews, meats, that there is no charbroiling on a stew or a crock pot meal, and then you get a lot of those bone broths. Because remember, the other issue, folks, is all proteins are difficult to digest without good digestive fire. And there's two things that all of American people, probably people worldwide, but we suffer most from, is there's two things that cause most aging and disease in this country. It's the inability to digest your food and the lack of minerals. And those two go hand in hand. If you can't digest your food, you can't cleave the minerals. If you can't digest your food, you can end up with excess proteins. You have a lack of protease to break down the protein, and then it becomes an inflammatory issue along with all the chemicals that are in it.
Plus, I really do feel that we're so far removed from our food. I mean, our ancient ancestors, remember when you had to hunt or gather for your food, you're actually in the process of killing that animal as humanely as you could, and prepare the animal too. And same with the gathering, you had to know which plants, first of all, because these are all wild. So you had to have a great knowledge, but also the passion of loving these things because they know what they're giving to you. And we had a really beautiful relationship with our food and with the animals and with the plants because we left them alone to provide for us.
Yes.
We didn't, I think it's crueler to domesticate an animal than it is to leave them in the wild. Because you're really putting them in jail. I don't care. Even if you're just putting them in a pasture, you're limiting that pasture. You're limiting the natural inclination of that animal to go out and seek and hunt for itself, whether it's grass or another animal or whatever. And that's the same with us. We've removed all those little exciting things that made us really beautiful people. The hunting, the gathering, the in touch with the animal, knowing how to prepare it, knowing how to survive completely by the time you were a teenager. Probably in those days, a teenager was fully grown human being at the prime of life, 13 years old already, maybe having children,
that's
things
why they
like
had
that.
them getting married, correct?
Exactly. So we're really out of touch with that whole thing, and that is, I think, the beginning of our deterioration as a species. We're not in touch with our food anymore, and so a package, if it's convenient for us, looks okay. But our ancient ancestors would not even know what to do with any of the food that we have today.
They would view it as frankenfood.
Yes.
Boxed, packaged, canned.
Which I do believe it is. We have to go back and touch base with our primitive self.
So hang out.
In a modern way.
Right. So hang out with us. We got to go for a break, but we're going to rewild ourselves, and we want you to join along.
Yeah, and the number here is 877-927-6648. Pick up some Primal Edge. Get that newsletter. We've got a new one coming out, folks, next week. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Biotech is booming, but for how long? Whether you think the biotech bull has room to run or has run its course, trade LABU or LABD. Direction's daily S&P Biotech 3 times bull and bear ETFs. Visit directioninvestments.com/biotech today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows, and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
Welcome back, folks. Nico and Paige here. Before the break, we were talking about the meat and, of course,
Rewilding
ourselves. But what I found was that what they put in these products, not just the meat, but all the packaged products, but they add to meat and things, is some of the real problems that we have with what we call processed meats.
Absolutely. In a recent article from Georgia State University, they were talking about widely used food additives promote colitis, obesity, and metabolic syndrome.
Yeah.
It's a study of emulsifiers and food additives, folks. So precisely why so much of this research is reporting some bad outcomes is due to the fact that they're lumping all the foods into one category.
Yeah. And I think these additives, especially the emulsifiers, you got to think the reason that they're in there have nothing to do with the health of the food or the health of us who are eating the food. It has everything to do with adding shelf life to the product or making it look good, because what they did to the product to process it makes it look bad.
Absolutely.
You have things, and this is not just meat, folks. You're talking about you going to the grocery store and you don't know if that apple that looks really good is actually really good, or what they put on it to make it look really good.
Oh yeah, you can really see a difference when you look at like a conventional apple with an organic apple. That just brought me to the thought of, margarine. Not that any of us listening would ever consider buying and using margarine at all in our lives. And therefore, but margarine, after it's produced, is like a steel nickel gray.
Yes. Well, I remember when we used to get it, they had bleached it white, but then there was this little pocket of dye in there that you had to break, and then you'd have to knead it. And then and that's in plastic too, so you're kneading the plastic in there. I mean, it was kind of insane, but we thought, hey, this is high tech. It was really cool in the 50s. Of course, then 55, 56 came along, and they learned how to put the color into the manufacturing product, and then it looked just like butter. And then the sales really went up, because first of all, it was less expensive than butter. It tastes similar to butter, close enough. I mean, I like the butter better, but it wasn't that big of a deal, and you could spread it over everything. It's cheaper. Shelf life was way off the charts because most of the things by that time you started having refrigerators.
Well, that's using your instinct, and I like that word, instinctual health. And I think many of us, did realize these spreads just were not flavorful, and we went with our instincts and our intuition, and we made those selections. But like you said, emulsifiers, which are added to most processed foods to add texture and shelf life, can alter the gut microbiota composition and create intestinal inflammation that promotes the development of inflammatory bowel disease and metabolic syndrome. And this is straight out of the Georgia State University. This February.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of evidence mounting now that these products are actually helping the addiction to these foods. I know people that like Diet Coke better than the real Coke. That they started on real Coke and went to diet because diet is much more addictive.
They add things. I mean, these food scientists are paid to help create a craving for their particular food. So yes, you would be very surprised. But again, when we follow our instinct, when we follow our intuition, I like the Triple G diet, which is if your great-great-great-grandmother didn't have these foods as choices, then you shouldn't either.
That's a good thing to go by. Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to go by. I forgot what I was going to say, but let's get back to the meat for a second, because one of the things that we have been discovering through this journey is that our ancestors were really not that much into the muscle meat of the animals that they were eating. They often discarded it in many cases, or they fed it to their pets. So they were much more into using these meats along with their vegetables in broths, using water, and things like that, because your organ meats just get along a lot better. They deteriorate faster, so you emulsify them in some kind of a liquid, they'll last longer, and our ancestors knew that. And like you said, the bones were thrown in there because of the thing. So that we're eating mostly muscle meat. You've got to understand that our ancestors did not use as much of that.
It's rather ironic when you think about it. The things that most of us might discard, the bones or the skins or the organs,
certainly
are the very things, or the fat, are the very things that our ancestors treasured and served to their families with a respect for God, grace, and gratitude. And, today we view that maybe as the
And if you go to a slaughterhouse, the aroma of slaughtering an animal that is unhealthy is completely different than if you take a very healthy animal and slaughter that. It's completely different looking. The fat looks different, because that's the biggest change there. We'll be back in a few minutes, folks. I have a new newsletter coming out next week, so please pick that up and pick up some Primal Edge, and we'll be right back.
You've heard Nico Haan as co-host of Living a Primal Lifestyle, which airs every Friday at noon Eastern Time on TFNN, and would like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418 8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today. Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit tfnn.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com, educating investors. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
You know, we've been talking a little bit about this whole World Health Organization announcement of the carcinogenic nature of animal-based foods. And, you know, as you take a look at this, Nico and I were talking over the break, you know, who benefits from this? So when you really kind of step back and follow the money, as somebody said in the chat room,
you have to look at the World Health Organization, and this is the same organization that helps get food around the world when people need it in emergencies like in Haiti or earthquakes. And what kind of food are they sending, and what's donated to them?
No, they're sending packaged foods, they're sending grains, they're sending starvation foods.
Yes.
So let's take a look at it. As people read these headlines and they start to shun, you know, conscious meat eating or unconscious meat eating, you know, whichever
the
is
case,
their
yeah.
situation, but we recommend perhaps conscious meat eating. And they shun it and they start increasing their grains in their diet. You know, who owns these grain companies? Well, when you start to look at it, it's the largest multinational companies.
Like Monsanto and other companies.
Monsanto and food and seed companies. So we got to kind of take a look at what's really going on. And again, kind of want to zone in on one of our favorite experts, Nora's Primal Body, Primal Mind website. You know, she said, she cites the archives of internal medicine have used what is called the relative risk to show their results. Relative risk is frequently used to make things look far worse than they are rather than what is called absolute risk, which really tells it like it is.
And that's the reason they do this, because it's not as dramatic.
Make sure you get our newsletter, because Nico's going to put a movie I saw in there that kind of explains that with graphs, and it will just be a big aha moment as you start to really take a look at the statistics and so forth. So, but in spite of this research from the WHO, okay, other research has shown no meaningful link between diets higher in dietary animal fat and increased cancer risk. This is, from the article that we're sharing with you today, is cited with footnote research.
Yeah, and
so
there's a lot of research. There's like 25 little things here that tell you where to go to actually read this research. Remember that the World Health Association used observational and memory of people they called or contacted once a year to get their clinical analysis, and then really said it's either yes or no, in a sense. You know, there's no in-between of anything, and that's not the way life works.
And so with respect to what we kind of recommend to our people, very similar, is, it's about clarifying some of these matters. Red meat should only come from 100% pasture-fed and finished animals. No feedlot and or no commercial processed meats, which include those additives and emulsifiers and nitrates, etc. And, we also recommend meat and protein in general to be consumed in strict moderation. No more than about 1 gram per kilogram of ideal body weight, approximately the weight of a person's lean tissue mass. Some of us, I actually believe that we need possibly less.
I think so. I think if you concentrate on the fat, you get full a lot
Correct.
faster. Not full, but you get that feeling of being satisfied much easier. The other night, on last Sunday, before my wife went to Boca Raton, I fixed a nice little pork roast. So, and we sliced it, and we ate about half of it, and then she took some on the road with her, and there were 2 slices left for me. So it was really, I was kind of in a hurry yesterday, so I just wanted to let you know this is what I ate. I took 1 slice of pork, I took 1 ounce of butter and spread it evenly on top of it, and I put some chipotle sauce on it and ate it like a little sandwich.
Well, there you go.
And then the second one, I said, okay, and those 2 with the butter was the fuel, a little bit of protein, and then a little bit of the spice on top of it, and it was just like a perfect meal. And I sat there, this was like at 5 or 6 o'clock, and then I wasn't hungry after that because I had the fat.
Right, and like we just said, no more than 1 gram of lean body tissue. So if you're a 100-pound girl and you have maybe 80 pounds of lean tissue, you don't want to have any more than 80 grams of protein. I even say that's probably on the high side.
Probably.
I like to follow, remember the old doctors, back when doctors were doctors in the turn of the century, and I believe one man helped return people to ideal physiology better than anyone, and that was Dr. Melvin Paige, P-A-G-E. Not me, but anyways. But Dr. Paige likes Dr. Paige's diet, and when you look at maintaining ideal weight, it really is much closer to maybe about half. But some of these people that are doing hard training, we can see a difference.
Yeah, I usually use the palm method. If the piece of meat or fish fits in the palm of my hand, that's about the right size for a serving for me, and twice as much greens.
Right.
And then I add fat because I know that we tend to not add enough fat to our things. So I can put a little butter on the greens, I can put a little butter on the meat if I want to, or some others.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, so like we said, excess of protein is rather inflammatory, folks, and we want you to be aware of that. Remember what I said earlier, most Americans, people all over the world, die or get disease from not digesting their food and not being mineral deficient. So not digesting your food means you could end up with excess protein floating around, creating inflammation in your body.
And then if you're a sugar lover, then you eat some sugar and it binds with the protein to cause glycation, which starts to stick to the side walls of all your arteries, and that's how you end up with problems. But I want to dig in a little bit further, even because when we're talking about all
that rabbit hole.
Exactly. What is the real culprit? If we're talking about one single food that we want to just get rid of and not use at all, and that we use a lot of, what would that thing be?
Well, I think it would just be processed foods.
But
of any type.
there's just one particular one, the top of the list of the processed food.
Grains.
Yeah, one just above that.
Sugar.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
okay,
the
I
one.
got you. Yeah.
So,
well,
and the
refined
grains are
sugar.
right there with it because they act kind of the same thing. But sugar is added to every single process because most of the processing takes out the fat. So if we have a low fat, we know there's sugar hidden in there somewhere, or worse, maybe an artificial sugar and some kind of salts that we don't want to use at all because they're heated to ridiculous degrees. So I think there's a lot of evidence that high blood pressure, your heart disease, cancers are all fed through sugar.
Well, they have no other choice. They're anaerobic, and they utilize an anaerobic type of metabolism.
Right.
And that's Otto Warburg proved that that they know that sugar, not red meat, is cancer's #1 most essential metabolic fuel. I get a question a lot of time from clients that say, "Well, why is it that so many people heal themselves of cancer by going on a vegan diet?" Very good question.
It is a good question.
Why are animal foods shunned in a healing crisis such as this? And I'm going to tell you that my thoughts are on this is that, as I mentioned, we age and get disease from our inability to digest our food. Digestion happens through enzymes, and if we have an enzyme deficiency, we cannot break down for example, protein. We do not need protein to be strong. We need the building blocks of protein. If you do not have enough protease or other enzymes that help you break down and utilize your protein, your red meat, your fish, your eggs.
And the fat is a problem too. We don't have the enzymes for
or the
fat.
lipase.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't have, when you have a metabolic disease such as cancer, and we're not diagnosing or treating anything here, but we're just sharing observation here, then if you have a digestive enzyme deficiency, then your body needs ready processed nutrition, and that is often found in enzyme-rich live source vegetables and fruits, which is one of the reasons that I really do like. I like that live enzyme.
Well, also, if you're feeding somebody by a tube, you're pretty much stuck to using what the medical community is using now, and they're using, fructose and glucose as fuel.
I run into a lot of older people that are being told by their medical doctors to drink Ensure every day.
Yeah.
Have you seen the first ingredients on that product?
No. What is it?
Corn solids, sugars. It's just sad.
Yeah,
it's just sad.
Another thing, as I'm going through this process of talking about diets and things, I was reading a lot of information this last week on losing weight. And there seems to be two ways of losing weight. One would be the low-fat diet, and then it seems like if you get your fat under 10%, then the sugars act a completely different way and add as fuel, helping you to lose that weight. Or you can go to a higher fat diet and no sugar at all, and that does a similar thing. But now if you get your sugar up to about 20% and use fat, then you're really getting into problems.
Well, there you go. That's a perfect example of what we're seeing as different approaches. Having your fat as a fuel being more on the ketogenic side of the scale, whereas when you mentioned getting your fat down to 10%, this is the Dr. John McDougall. This is what Dr. Marshall is really instructing us to do. I am not one to tell people that there's a right or wrong way to do things. As long as they learn the information and they apply it to themselves.
Yeah.
There can be good benefits to both of those diets.
But the combination of fat and sugar together in a quantity is a disaster.
I agree.
That is one thing. And of course, it depends. If you're eating lots of healthy fats, maybe not as much, but I still think you've got problems with if you're taking sugars in. And probably the person...
What's that? Ice cream. Even if it's homemade, that's a lot of fat and a lot of sugar.
Yeah. But less processed than if we were
eating a cake.
Well, going to Carvel or going to some Baskin Robbins or whatever. They've taken out the fat and replaced it. So it's definitely not as good. But it's interesting that there are different slants to this whole thing. And when we're talking about getting ourselves better from a disease point of view. We're stuck in the disease. You may have also two roads of going. I have a client now that's relatively new with me, and she survived cancer 3 times. One was cancer of both breasts. One was of the bones, so she had to replace her knees. This was 20 years ago, and she's pretty much a grazer. She says she's figured herself out, and she has lots of little meals. She's not a vegetarian, but all her meals are small, and she eats about every 2 hours or 3 hours.
Less stress on the digestive system that way.
Yeah, and this way she's surviving. So there's a lot of different ways, We certainly don't claim to know it all, and my life has always been a search, and don't subscribe too much, and don't get your ducks in a row saying, hey, I know this, I believe in this, because beliefs are just beliefs. They're not the truth, even if you happen to be right. They're still not the truth. It's still just your belief. And everything changes, and everything that we know about this world that we live in everything always changes. But I know we're on the right track when you feel really good about what you're doing. So I think also in this whole bag is really being very happy and satisfied with what you're doing. Now we have a phone call, Mike from Dallas in here, and he wants to talk about Ensure, I believe. So let's put Mike on the line. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hi, I was just casually listening to you, and I drink Ensure, and if that's not good for me, what do I drink?
Well, are you at home that you have, if you just, it's kind of like what we've been talking about, Mike, is take a look at the ingredients in Ensure, using your own discernment about whether or not those ingredients are things that you can recognize as a whole food. What they're really doing with Ensure is providing a calorie-dense meal replacement, because there's a concern that a lot of people maybe that have some compromise in their health need calorie-dense foods. But what we teach here, Mike, and share with people is let's make better choices of where we can get calorie-dense food. So your question was, what else could you do? You could choose to...
Grass-fed whey.
Grass-fed whey is what I was going to suggest, an excellent whey protein. You could add healthy colostrum, which is a stand-in immune system. These are functional foods. These are truly healthful foods. You could make sure instead of, I think one of the early ingredients in the Ensure are high fructose corn syrup or corn solids syrups of some type. These are pure sugar. A lot of the minerals and vitamins that are added in Ensure are coal tar derivatives of the chemical petroleum industry. They are synthetic vitamins that may fix a lab result, but they don't really fix people, because Fitz-Albert Pop proved that our bodies respond. We don't have a deficiency of Lipitor. We don't have a deficiency actually of vitamin B. We have a deficiency of the light that comes from these, from the substances. And Lipitor in these drugs we see are not what's required. So we'd like to see you get things from from healthful foods.
Yeah,
and
I just recently changed from a whey that had a flavor to it. I found in my health food store, Nature's Food Patch, a grass-fed whey, has no flavoring whatsoever. I took it and I thought, I probably won't like this, maybe have to add something myself. But I love it.
I carry in my own co-op in my office.
Yeah, let me first let Mike know what I add to it. I add a little bit of MCT oil, which is medium chain triglycerides, 1 or 2 ounces of that, and I also add some of the bone gelatin.
Right.
So that gives me the collagen, yeah. And those 3 items together really help me. I usually take it before I go to jiu-jitsu, about an hour or so before. That's a nice little meal.
Yeah, and if you need any help, call me, Mike. Because you're a listener, you get a complimentary consultation first time with me, and I can help you create a whole food and help you with your resources and help you pick out something that you like.
Yeah, and you can also write us.
Just email me, Paige at TFNN.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can write me to Nico.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Folks, we're going to be right back for another segment here, and the number is 877-927-6648. Pick up some Primal Edge while you're at it.
You know what's cool?
taking something that's good for you, something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to The Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Trader's Edge, heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
Catch Steve Rhodes as he teaches techniques on technical analysis using pattern recognition, celestial charting, Fibonacci, and other tools. The Trader's Edge, next on TFNN.
You open.
Welcome back, folks. Nico and Paige here, and we have Larry from Cheyenne, Wyoming, giving us a call. Hey, Larry, how you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Excellent.
Another great show. I mean it. I couldn't resist, so I'm calling in. The insure thing. I'm not joking. I worship because I believe man is sort of a failed species. So I kind of take a biblical approach to mankind.
Sure.
But when I go there, I always interact with the medical doctors. There's a ton of them, and they go there for sanctuary from their patients, I think. But I got into a discussion with a young ER doctor, and I studied biochemistry for 3 years. I'm not kidding. I actually know that better than trading, way better. And I couldn't convince this kid, he's a recent graduate, that these glucose drips and Ensure and the fructose and that it messes with the the physiology of people and puts them in a negative state, and it ensures that they probably will never get healthy after the ER doctor saves their life. And he just mocked me, and we discussed it for 30 minutes. So this is what year? This is the 21st century. Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
The doctors are still trained like it's 1950 when, just eat the corporate food sugar chain and you'll be fine.
Well, also in the 50s when the doctor said, when I smoke, I may not always smoke a cigarette, but when I smoke a cigarette, it's a Camel.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good analogy.
Man is fatally flawed. He will always cling to a method regardless if it pays his bills, and that's what I know at age 60.
Yeah.
Well,
the thing is, too, you've got to remember who is teaching these people now. We have the drug companies pouring a lot of money into these universities and actually having spokesmen going there, teaching the professors what to say about their drugs, about their methods, because what they're trying to do is get support for what they're doing.
And my last comment is, of course, and they take multiple choice tests on biochemistry, which really, it irks me because you're supposed to work through the processes. So they have a yes, no, all the above, multiple choice. They have a response, a conditioned response to these topics that are really convoluted and complicated.
Well, they have such a few minutes, and they really, they find out that so much of their education is through their trained sales reps. And I know this because I was heavily recruited out of college by Merck, and ended up going into the laboratory sales, which was not so much. But the insiders are of what they're they just are repeating what they've been told.
Well, the other thing too, Larry, about this is those tests that you're talking about. Is what's kind of giving us focus on how we do business. Because I remember in Canada, when I was going to high school, we didn't have multiple choice or true and false at all. And going into college, I was very surprised when I went to college here in America, and those standard tests were there in finals a lot of the times.
Yeah.
We had to write out everything in essay. Even our math was kind of, explain yourself here. And that's really lost. So these people are being conditioned in a sense so that when they do perform these things and they want to make sense out of things, it's kind of like a true or false, or just you have one or two choices, or maybe three at the most.
Let me get this in, if you don't mind, Larry, because you brought up a great point. I pulled up some information and shared it for our previous caller. Unfortunately, Ensure is heavily marketed by the medical doctors because it's able to put that little slate, #1 doctor recommended. But when you really look at it, guys, what are the 4 top ingredients in Ensure? #1 is water. #2 is sugar. #3 is corn syrup. And #4 is maltodextrin. Any questions, folks?
Thanks, Larry, for calling. We really appreciate it. And thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week. A new newsletter coming out, so please subscribe and pick up some Primal Edge so you stay nice and healthy. You can watch us. Thanks.
Don't eat too much candy.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.